back in, everybody, to another edition of the Dynasty Trade Show. I have to emphasize the. I'm sitting with the biggest Ohio State fan I think there probably is out there. The man, the myth, the legend, as you can see. Adam, how you doing tonight, buddy? You ready to do some more Dynasty trades? I'm always ready to do Dynasty trades, but, obligatory, I have to ask. I already know the fucking answer.
I mean, hey, listen, I'm not gonna be mad at you for asking me. Of course I'm ready, but we are ready. The people are ready. Everybody that's tapped in wants to know what the hell is going on in the streets, and what the hell does 4D have to say about it.
I got to talk to the people real quick, and then we'll dive right into the first one.
Okay.
People, if you like our content, if you like us, and you want us to keep doing what we're doing and support us the best way possible, gotta hit that subscribe button. About 62% of the people who watch this are not subscribed. It helps us out so much. We can't beg you enough. Just hit the subscribe button. You'll never miss out on anything else that we do. If you love us, you support us. We love you just for tuning in. But please, one more step. Just hit that subscribe button. That's all I got.
And even if you hate us, turn the notifications off. Just hit the subscribe button.
Hell yes.
And without further ado, Mike, let's go ahead, as we always started off. This time we got me and you, buddy. You and I.
Let's go. I hate this deal already.
Well,
I hate this deal already.
This is what we have. Reality, we can discuss it, but this is what we got as far as our trade goes. This was made in the Shit OG League, right? This is the
original Shit OG League.
Yeah, man, the very first one. All of our first patrons from a year ago, if you can believe it or not, we're in this one. So, Mike, this is the settings of this, right? Are best ball, 12-team, Superflex.
Deep rosters, deep lineups,
deep starters.
The whole fucking works. Probably big play bonuses, all the normal shit that we always do in all of our patron leagues. But again, the injury bug has come back. I dealt with this last year. You remember? I probably traded you Cam Akers. I
know this one was not from you.
Release.
I know this share of Cam Akers was not from you, but I know for sure you and I have traded in best ball last year, where I got Cam Akers from you, and unfortunately, man, we saw Javonte go down, and this kind of leaves you as a contender with. And let's talk about the trade, and then we'll talk the dynamics and all the extensions of it.
Well, I'm acquiring Geno, Mo Alley-Cox, Cam Akers, and Tyler Algier. Man, sending away Javonte, a guy I like, you still like, in Kadarius Toney, albeit has taken a value hit because he can't get on the field and can't stay healthy. A 25-second, a 23-4th. Now, the 23-4th is just kind of whatever, but you've been in a rebuild for 2 years now. You own the entire 23 draft class. Everybody in the league knows that your time is coming, Adam. Your time is coming to dominate this league. And if that's the case, man, I'm not just going to sit middle of the road and not make any moves.
Right.
I got to go for it. I tried for it last year and failed. I got to try again, right? Because I know you're about to take this fucking thing over. I hate trading away Javonte at a discount.
Sure.
Cam Akers, albeit I traded for him before
8 yards and 8 carries for 13 yards. Yeah.
Yes. So it looks even worse now after that, but still, in the Tyler Algier thing with Cordero Patterson going down, that's, let me try to see if I can't hit a home run running back filler. Mo Alley-Cox is nothing but depth, and Geno Smith helps out my quarterback position. Actually been playing surprisingly well, but since I traded for him, he'll probably turn into a pumpkin again. But this is just kind of like my back's up against the wall. I have to make moves. I can't continue to take zeros from Javonte and Kadarius Toney. The 25s, I mean, what the fuck is a 25-second going to do for me, Adam, when I'm faced with you owning the entire 23 draft class? So fuck it, man. We're gonna whip it out. We're gonna put it on the table, and let's ride.
I like it, man. Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing is, so because that I'm the primary rebuilder, there might be another team or two that are taking picks, but the reality is, when everybody's, for the most part, the large majority of the league's gone to contending side, they're not really interested in taking on, whether they have a value or not, Javonte Williams and Kadarius Toney. And also, let's call it what it is. I think a 23-4 has value, but no one's acting like that's some kind of needle mover.
Yeah,
and the 25-2, knowing like what you said, where I have a lot of the 23 and 24 class already leveraged. Like, not saying it has no value, but contenders aren't interested in taking any of these pieces on, right? So you're kind of stuck in a position where you still believe you can win now. Maybe it's not the top contender in the league, but I still think you're a top 3 contender for sure. And you want to get something back for Javonte Williams and Kadarius Toney. This is the reality of it. Obviously, when we made this deal, we thought Akers was trending up, and looks like that's not the case.
Whoops.
I will say, Mike, here's the thing. Algier is looking up, right? Geno Smith, I mean, I don't know what his long-term is, but once again, you've already established you don't necessarily care. Geno's, I mean, I don't know how realistic it is for him to keep this up, Mike, but he's playing out of his fucking mind. I mean, he's actually a relevant starting quarterback in Superflex, especially in best ball. Yep. Mo Ali Cox, I think, is more of a whatever piece, but he just had a huge blow-up game. It's not out of the realm of possibilities. He has more touchdown or multi-touchdown weeks that get into your lineup. So it's a gross deal for you, I'm sure. But honestly, like, I even when I look at this today, I don't think it's horrific, really. Like, obviously, you would not prefer to make this move, but Tony's giving you fucking nothing. Williams probably isn't the most appealing to most of the league, and really after that, the only asset you're giving up is 3 years removed.
What lends itself to it being best ball, Adam, if this was a lineup league, I don't know if this gets done. Like, I really don't. Even then, like, if my back's up against wall, similar situation, like, nah, I'm good, man.
Well, because none of those pieces outside of when we made the deal, you thought maybe you could press the button on Akers. Right?
Yep.
But outside of that,
yep.
None of these guys, and maybe Geno in a pinch you start. Outside of that, like, I don't know. You could start Algier depending on what your build is, but like you're not going to feel great about pushing the button point is on any one of these guys. Where in best ball, that's a different animal. So
100%.
All right, let's go into another one of your deals, Mike, where I think the people say it's much more in your favor, right?
I feel much better about this one. So
this goes back to the point you're not going to win all your trades, but you want to win 60% or more, right?
I'm pretty sure I'm going to win this one. But Blitz here, the Who's. I own his 23 and 24 picks. Now, I'm a rebuilder, and he thought he was a contender. I believe because of median, I think he started 1-7. He's gotten 1 win out of 8 tries. It's not happening for him. Injuries, underperformances, that kind of thing. So this is the kind of position you put yourself in when you come calling back for your first. So we kind of went back and forth. You know, I set really high, unreasonable. He was like, what is it going to take to get the 23 and 24 first back? And I'm like, well, just trade me Watson and Joe Burrow, and I'll give you both of your picks back. Like, that ain't going to fucking happen. So I think he started off with Joe Burrow. I'm not the biggest, like, Joe Burrow guy. You know, there's some issues with him. Deshaun Watson, on the other hand, man, we know when he's right and he's going to be back.
Yeah.
Like, I'm projecting, like, he's going to climb back into that top 5 quarterback range pretty quick. And to get him for an early 23 first, it's not going to be the 101. Your boys pretty much locked that up. I tanked the right way. Antoine Pierce, you know, our boy Antoine, he finally did something, but, let's be realistic, man. It's a lineup league. How many times are you going to actually feel good about pushing the button on him until you see a lot more? And then my 23 third, it's going to be the 301. So,
I mean, I think
all of that for one Deshaun Watson, who I think could be back in that top 5 discussion of quarterbacks. So I'm willing to pay that price. Right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt my rebuild right now because he's going to miss, most of the weeks where I'm actually actively trying to lose.
Yeah, you won't be able to start him until I think week 13, and by that point you're 1 week away from the playoffs. So, Now, so I think there's a couple things to discuss here, right? And Blitz, our boy Dan, who's here, like, he hit me up. He's like, I got to get this pick back from Mike, and I kind of started with like, you do, but you don't, I know he ended up settling on this with you, and I think from his perspective, and I kind of understand what he's doing as far as a process. For him, he wanted this move to be seen so that he can maybe lose this deal, even admittedly, but he wants to then have his pick, which helps all the other trades make the pick better.
Correct.
Now, the reality is Watson still, in my opinion, probably has a higher ceiling than 101 or 102. I think he's going to be one of those. He if he continues to tear it all the way down, maybe he gets lucky and you get a win and he doesn't. But regardless, like Watson probably is better than the 101 or 102. Pierce, like you said, is not someone that's super intriguing in lineup, but he is something. I mean, maybe he does hit a little bit. I don't know how high I am on him really, but that's a piece. And then your 301. He does still have to try to multiply assets. I think on paper you win the deal. I'm not going to argue that at all. I mean, you're getting a top 5 quarterback when healthy or when not suspended for, an early first essentially and some darts, right? But I think this is where, when you get to a failed contender, sometimes you're going to take the pick back to do something like this, but there is a point to where, like, I know he ended up settling on this, and I can still see it working out for him, but sometimes you don't necessarily have to go get the pick back if, in reality, what you're sending away for the pick is still better for your rebuild. So I'm not going to say it can't work out for him because I know he knows the process to rebuild now, and this was an orphan. He said he had to try to kind of force the win now. It didn't work, and now he's forced to rebuild. But I know he knows how to do it, but this could be one of those where, like, you may look back on it and be like, man, I wish I maybe just would have rebuilt with Watson as opposed to going to trade for the pick and then figuring it out later.
You touched on it a little bit too. I mean, one of the kind of caveats to it is if he gets his pick back first thing and he also starts selling off pieces, right? It does kind of signal a little bit of a buying frenzy from everybody else. Like the contenders in the league go, oh shit, there's another guy. Exactly. Not just Mike out here just fucking flipping picks or flipping players for picks, right? There's another guy I can go to and try to buy whatever the hell I need, And
it also makes the market not so dictated by just you.
Correct. Right. I have a little bit more competition, but if it nets me Deshaun Watson, I'm willing to bring on that competition. Bring it on. Let's go.
And like you said, man, even in a rebuild, every pick, everything has a price, and this is what you set. So I think today it's Watson. I think probably tomorrow it's Watson, but I think this is one of those strategically that Blitz kind of was willing to take the L to do the rebuild his way. So I get it.
All right, man. We got Zach in the house, right?
Yes, sir. I'm not good, baby.
He acquired Christian Kirk for Nico Collins in a first.
So here we go, Mike. Also, I'll give you the context. We got lineup 12 team Superflex. He's undefeated 4-0. He's a contender.
How deep did he say anything about how deep the starter? He plays in a lot of IDP too, so sometimes the offensive starters are pretty shallow.
Yeah, he based on the Discord, I don't see a starting lineup roster size.
Man, I think the 23 first, like you just said he's 4-0. The 23 first,
probably looking at a 111, 112 type pick.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I'm good with that. I'm good with paying the Nico Collins hat on. Like generally, I kind of look at it and I go, man, I'd kind of like to keep Nico, but this isn't a best ball league, so how many times you can push a button on Nico Collins, depending on lineup size, probably never. Right. Christian Kirk's, man, the guy that I keep warming up to. I'm going to continue to try to push this like Stephon Diggs 2.0 narrative. I don't know if it's factual or not, but fuck it sounds good to me. So, like, I'm willing to buy at this. Really, I like this move for him. Like, just kind of strengthen you up. I mean, probably if his team's 4-0, right? Christian Kirk is good. Been playing really well. But let's be honest, he's probably sliding him into his wide receiver 3 spot. Like,
well that's
what's fucking good.
What's really nice too, Mike, and there's going to be some things we talk about on the 40 actual episode of the podcast. Go check that out if you're watching this and you want more of the information. But Mike, it's interesting, man, because there's people are getting a lot more into data and the numbers, and when you get to the warp data for this year, it's only 4 weeks in, Mike, but he's a top 10 receiver when it comes to warp data. So he is winning you weeks right now. And here's the thing, Mike, I don't know if he stays top 10 because that's very lofty, right? But here's the reality. Why can't he? He's with Trevor Lawrence. Yep. The offense looks good. They're a team that's, like, if you look at some of these guys on your contenders that are hurting you, right, they're on these teams that we thought were good, but it turns out, like the Rams, they're not, right? Like Allen Robinson you thought was going to be good. He's killing you. He's not. You can't do anything with him, right? With what's exciting about the Jaguars is this is a team that had all the assets and is trending in the right direction. So why is it not possible that he can be very good against the replacement level players? I'll be honest, man. This is something that probably going into the season, as much as I was starting to warm up, and you and I both were, to Christian Kirk, I would have said, nah, man, Zach, this is not right. What I know today, Mike, honestly, bro, I actually think I really like it for him. Christian Kirk, I'm not going to say he's going to smash like that top 10 over replacements for the rest of the year, but man, if your team's already built right, like you just said, and I can slide him into the wide receiver 3 or flex spot, that really does help your team a lot, man. It really does.
Sign me the fuck up. Man, we've come a long ways from us making fun of the Jags for paying him $20 million a year, right?
And remember when that was the worst contract of the offseason?
Yeah, absolutely horrendous. And now it's like, doesn't look so bad. Doesn't look so bad.
Speaking of the Jags, we got a couple in here. One Jag and then one Jaguar, but let's get to it, Mike.
All right, so Noah Fant, Trevor Lawrence in a second for Drake London and a 24 first. I'm not counting Snoop Conner as fucking anything, man. We'll just ignore him. Noah Fant, man. Damn.
It's tough. I mean, there's a piece of me because he's still young that likes the talent, but I'm just going to be honest, man. Like, if he stays in that system, the way they're using other tight ends, like, it's just this year for sure, I can tell you factually, it's a wrap unless something drastic happens.
Yeah.
Upside of the future, like, I don't know. Honestly, like, his stock has just dropped significantly, Dynasty and on the win now.
So, I mean, we just kind of talked a little bit about Trevor Lawrence, but man, is he trending up. He is trending up in a big way, albeit last week, not great. Again, Eagles defense, pretty fucking good. But before that, man, Trevor Lawrence was playing really well. Man, are we talking about Trevor Lawrence possibly being a top 8 option in Superflex here pretty soon? Like,
I mean, I think he's already top 10 for me. So, like, to get to top 8, I don't even know how much of a discussion it really needs to be because I think it's negligible from 8 to 10, really. Like, I think he's in that mix. And here's what I would say, too. So I do have what I have on this, Mike, is lineup 12-team Superflex, tight end premium, start 10. So the way I look at this, Mike, especially in start 10, like, I like London still. I think he's a guy that is really showing out well early. The more I start looking at this deal, though, Mike, think about it like this, for me anyway. Lineup start 10, I definitely want Lawrence over London. Even if you say London's moved up quite a bit, Lawrence has moved up a bit too. Then when I look at this, I don't know what Jason A's 19 second is in 23, but as long as it's not like guaranteed to be late, this looks like a contending move for Redwoods. So if I'm looking at like a mid or a earliest 23 second versus a late 24 first, like what am I really losing there? I'm gaining time. Value-wise, I'm not sure I'm losing a ton, right? And then it's Noah Fant for Connor. Like, man, I think in lineup in best ball lineup I like what he did, but in lineup especially, Mike, because of start 10 and how much two really good quarterbacks give you an advantage. Like, I really like what he did here, man. I really do.
There's a couple Connors that play running back in the NFL, and neither one are particularly good, but this one is the worst of the two. So
we got an ETN and a James Robinson's back. So it's a wrap. Snoop.
Yeah, I'm good, man. Yeah, I like it when you break it down like that. Like Lawrence over London, not relatively close for me in any real format, but especially in the start 10 Superflex. Fant in the second for the first, like I'm good. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Like I'm good with that, especially if one ends up being more on the early side, like you were mentioning in 23, plus you get the time advantage and your 24 is actually on the later side.
Mm-hmm.
You're really trading back a handful of fucking picks, but trading up a year.
Yeah.
So, give me that all fucking day.
Yeah, I think that was pretty savvy by our boy Redwoods, Ryan Edwards. He's been winning trades, as you can see here. He's been winning all the giveaways. The guy is just hot, man. He is as hot as it gets.
He is on a fucking heater. Let's go.
Let's go, man. All right.
Shit.
This one here, Mike, is interesting. So our boy Koopa gets Trey Lance. He's sent away Tua. This is on a rebuild. And I don't. It just basically said rebuild. I don't think it said anything about lineup or whatever. But I don't know how much that matters anyway. It's 1-for-1 deal quarterback. Yep. So, rebuild. Where are you at? Like, which side do you want here?
We talked about when Lance went down that, I don't think you were going to be able to get Tua straight up for him. Now, that's before Miami completely, possibly fucked up his entire career with some of the decisions that they made. So,
right.
I still want to believe like Tua over Lance, but honestly, man, I don't know. And I would be petrified, holding Tua like it was, because he kind of already had some negatives going in.
Yeah.
And then was just really starting to turn it around. And like, you had people like me up, like, can I take a victory lap yet? No, not yet. And then, the concussion situations happened. Man, it's scary when you get that many concussions. You get 2 within a matter of days.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the long-term ramifications will be. Maybe it's nothing, Adam, and this is all much to do. But if I've got Tua right now and I'm on a rebuild and somebody just offered me Lance, I think I take this, man. I think I do. I think I take the Koopa Troopa side. Like, I kind of like that. Like, if I don't need Tua this year, fuck it, man. Let me just kind of put some. I know we're invested in a guy who snapped his fucking ankle. So,
yeah.
But I feel much better about the recovery process for a guy from a fractured ankle than I do somebody who's taken 2 concussions in a matter of days.
So yeah,
that's career ender like type stuff where we've seen all kinds of people have to retire early and call it quits. What was it? Chris Borland a few years ago for the 49ers, right?
Yep.
Fantastic linebacker, and then just kind of out of the blue, like,
sad story, man. Sad story.
I'm retiring for football, and you're like, what the fuck? You were a great player. Like, I didn't think you had any like serious injuries, and then you read the concussion stuff, and you're going like, this is a big fucking deal. So
I mean, we saw Luke Kuechly crying right when he got that last one because he knew, right? Like, he knew.
Like, I can't do this no more.
This is he's probably told, and he knew, like, that's the last hit I'll ever make. Like, that's it. And here's what I'll say, Mike. So the thing is, like, it's not really all that risky, because the reality is market and scariness for both of these guys is there. Like, it's Lance, you have to wait longer potentially. But it's scary. So Tua, right? There's 2 big differences I think you need to talk about with Tua, and then ultimately where you fall, and the belief is probably where you're gonna be on this trade. So, Mike, let me talk about both sides of this. Tua already, like, and now what's at the forefront is the concussion, because it was so bad, and possibly multiple concussions in 4 days, which is 5 days or whatever it is. Scary though, man. Before that though, what's been Tua's issue, honestly? He came in with a hip.
Yeah, he's been beat up, right?
Then he had the issues. His second year, he was in and out of the lineup again. So an injured guy that's not that big in stature is possibly dealing with, like, head trauma that, what we know today, could end your career very early. So, like, on the scare factor, Mike, right? Like, fear factor, the show, shit. Turn it up, man. The fear factor's high.
Yeah.
I'll say this, though, Mike. Weirdly, like with Tua, there was also the belief of what was happening this year. So you had some that said, well, he really only had like a good couple quarters. Like, he was accurate, but it was a lot in that big game. Understood. But then you also have the opposite side, Mike, of, okay, well, let's talk about the one game that he had at that point he played 4. So, Mike, we're talking about, okay, so last year, I don't know if you saw this or if you know the answer to this. Quarterbacks that threw for over 450 yards and 6 touchdowns, not in a game and in the same game, all season, all 2021. Do you know how many threw for first over 450 yards and then second for 6 touchdowns in a game?
I'm going to go with 3. Maybe Patrick Mahomes?
So the answer actually is, Mike, so for 450 yards, there was only 1. Joe Burrow threw one time over 450, and it was like 5.
Was it that Chief game?
Yeah, he threw like 525. Yeah.
Yep.
And for 6 touchdowns in a game, Mike, last year, not a one quarterback did it.
Yeah, man, it's a rare thing, right? I think back to one of the last ones I can remember doing it was Nick Foles, and this is like not even Super Bowl Nick Foles. This is with fucking Chip Kelly Nick Foles.
Right.
Well, long time ago.
And Mike, so here's the thing when you really think about it. So you have all the injury scare, you have the uncertainty, but the one thing that's interesting is we knew he was accurate. We knew he could, give you a floor play at quarterback. But we saw, Mike, the ceiling. And people said he didn't have a ceiling, but the ceiling he showed, even if it's one game, Mike, even if that was the best game he had for the rest of his season, that's better than anyone did in a single game last year. So you saw the ceiling, right? Ultimately, I think I'm with you on like the injury risk side where the market probably is. Both these guys don't feel great, but I think there's probably a little less risk in Lance. I will say this though, Mike. Let's say if Tua is able to sit out, a handful of weeks and come back and he's okay. Like there's a scenario where Big Mac 1721 wins this trade. Correct. But I think if you take risk into account, I'm with you. I think like as much as I like Tua, I think I lean the Koopa Troopa side here.
If I'm on a rebuilder, no question about it, I like the Koopa Troopa side. Like I'm just kind of let me cash out. I feel good, right? De-risk myself a little bit. Mm-hmm. But what about the Big Mac side? If he's a contender, okay, and he had Lance, like he's still treading water, doing okay,
right?
Like that's a hell of a bet to make. But I like it too. I like the boldness and the riskiness of going like, you know what, fuck it. Like if he comes back and he starts, playing like he did when he was throwing for 450 yards and 6 touchdowns, he's probably never going to do that for the rest of the season again. But you know what I mean? Like if he starts getting back on track and his health is not a concern anymore, that's a gamble I'm willing to make on a contender, right? Because all it's costing me is a guy who's giving me zeros and doing fucking nothing. For me.
Yeah. I think what's kind of good, what's nice to see about this deal is, like you said, especially if that's a contender, like this is people that figured out their build and found a deal that kind of made sense. So I like it, man. I still think I want Koopa Troopa side, but you make some very good points on the other side.
Oh, man. Tyler Algier for Skyy Moore in a second. B. Hall, man. What are you doing to this, man? Like, we started off with me buying Tyler Algier, right, on a best ball team, Adam. But we also said, like, if it was a lineup, I don't know how great I feel about pushing the button on Tyler Algier week in and week out. Fuck, man. Buying low on Skyy Moore and getting a second for Tyler Algier. Bravo, man. Bravo. This is heady news. There it is. There it is. The official soundboard of the Dynasty Trade Show right there.
I mean, that's got to be a bravo. And this deal is nuts, man. Like, this deal is fucking nuts.
This is fucking nuts.
I mean,
I love it.
This is... I talked about this a few times, Mike, about how, like, Skyy Moore's probably a buy low, and this is... Like, this dude's giving up on Skyy Moore already. He's throwing him like... Wow, man. I don't have to give a lot of analysis here. We'll go ahead and trade bait you, B-Hall. We give you the applause. Like, I think we move on to the next deal,
Yep. What the fuck is this? Holy.
So here we go. Our boy, the Gambler. Shout out to the Gambler, new Savage tier member. Came in. This was the first trade he dropped. And, Mike, this is a big one. Here's what I do have as far as some of the specifications of the league here. We are looking at a strong contender that he has. It's a lineup, and it's a 10-team Superflex. I didn't get the number of starters, but it's a lineup, and it's a 10-team, and it's Superflex.
All right, well, let's start crossing off boxes here, right?
Yeah.
Because what I like to do with complicated deals is just cross it out. Yep. Hurts over Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
Is that fair?
On a contender, for sure. I mean, if you can pivot Watson to Hurts on a contender, it's absolute.
Okay. Hollywood Brown and Judy over DJ Moore and Tony. And Wandale and fucking the third and the fourth.
You can add the picks to that, right? Yep.
Right. We can just get rid of all that. We get rid of Hollywood, Judy. So now we're looking at Fields for...
But here's where it's interesting, Mike. So if you do it that way, now you're down to Fields for Nico, Rondale, Dortch, and Edmonds.
I'd rather have the Fields part of that.
Right.
But I think you win everything else. Mm-hmm. Like outside of maybe if you said Hollywood, Judy for DJ Moore, Tony, Wandale, the picks, right? If if you want to say it's even or one way, it doesn't really matter. Like, it's fucking close enough, and you can just kind of lump the shit in together. But Hurts over Watson by a fair amount, a fair amount.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like, I'm okay kind of just taking the L on Justin Fields, especially with what we've seen. I'd want Justin Fields over if you just told me, well, I'll give you a Chase Edmonds and a Dortch and Rondale and Nico Collins. Yeah, fuck, I'd rather just have Justin Fields. But if I'm winning everywhere else, like, I'm cool. You can have Justin Fields, bro.
I'll be honest about this trade too, Mike. Like, when you talk about breaking it down, like, that's you could do it a multitude of ways because there's so many pieces. But what you did basically is, in summarization, how you look at it. But I think there's a bigger thing to really look at here. And this is okay to do, and I think it's the reality of sometimes a savvy move, even though it sucks. Because when you look at this team, Mike, right, when you look at what he sent away, the top 3 picks, and probably even you could include Tony, like Mike, Watson, Fields, and DJ Moore, like, you're thinking staples of your team.
Yeah.
You know, reality is, though, man, like, the longer you have DJ Moore, like, it's just – this season is looking bad, man. He looked very unhappy with the media questions, right? Baker Mayfield is horrible. I watched Darnold last year. He's horrible. This team is probably going to reset again to a new quarterback. Watson is a piece I think that's still going to be really good. But DJ Moore, Fields, and Tony are 3 pieces that they are so suppressed in dynasty value. Well, can they bounce back? Sure. But at this point on a contender, like, you kind of have to realize, I got to try to put these pieces into something else because it just doesn't make sense, especially knowing its lineup, Mike. Like, right now, pressing the button on those 3 guys is not worth it. And Watson, you can't till week 13. So to get all this back, like, this is a deal that I think, honestly, is very savvy from a contender because, like, being truthful, man, Jalen Hurts is a cheat code right now.
Yes.
Hollywood Brown, as much as I don't like him, is someone you can start in lineup leagues, you know?
For sure.
And Judy right now, too. So, like, this – and on top of it, Mike, what it really does is, like, you know, Chase Edmonds not a guy we're all that high on. Hollywood Brown, Judy still. But the reality is, even if they're not staples, like, those are very good pieces you need in depth when you go to make a push like this because you're moving off of a lot of players that probably buy you depth later, and you did it now.
Well, there are also players like Hollywood and Judy specifically. Maybe not so much Chase Edmonds anymore. But Hollywood and Judy, when I'm looking at this too, I may not like Hollywood or I may not like Judy, but I can go actually probably find some buyers for them if I want to sell them a lot easier than I'm going to find the DJ Moore and Kadarius Toney buyer. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Because they're not actually doing fuck all. And at least Hollywood's producing and Judy's doing some stuff where people who have been Judy truthers in the past are going like, see, we fucking told you. Look at him. Look at him. Look at him go deep and catch some bombs from Russ. Or, you know, Hollywood's getting force-fed targets and be like, this is exactly what we thought, you know, and it's not going to matter when D-Hop comes back, that kind of thing. At least I know there's other buyers out there if I want to pivot and I can easily move them maybe into other assets that I actually believe in or want on my team. So
well, and they keep you very flexible because, right, like DJ Moore and Fields and Tony are probably only going to appeal to rebuilders.
Yes,
Hollywood Brown,
people with prior convictions on those players.
Guys that are like, fuck it, they're just still my guys, right? Hollywood Brown and Judy, neither one of them are old, and they're both playing well now. So like, they're good for a contender. And shit, man, we're not those guys, but there's probably guys that are convicted on both of those guys. I know they're out there. So even on a rebuild, somebody might take one of those 2 guys. So I like it a lot for the gambler when I really dig into it.
Yeah, I saw the Chase Edmonds and Dortch thing, and I was like, this trade sucks already. And then you dig into it a little bit more, and you're like, damn, I like that. If we sneak them dudes in, we'll take them. We will take them. Man, another Deshaun Watson. Holy shit. Are we going to go crazy and make a thumbnail for Deshaun Watson?
It's kind of feels crazy because of all the allegations he's not playing, but you know what, man? Like, this has to be. Like, this is just the Watson show. We've got so many deals with him going. I think people are starting to feel that he's going to be back soon. And it's only week 5, but the closer we get to Watson being back, you're going to see his value just go higher and higher. But here, when I look at this, Mike,
The all-injured disappointing team.
I mean, Mike,
for the guy we haven't seen or won't see until week 12, 11, 13, whatever the fuck it's going to be.
I mean, Noah Fant
get a first.
And Noah Fant might as well be injured. Like, everything on this team, everything right now in this, you got Williams out for the year, Lance out for the year, Watson out till week 13, 23 you can't put in your lineup. And same thing with Noah Fant. Right? Like,
so, listen, man, when I look at Javonte and I look at Trey Lance, I don't like to, but just the generic values that come into my mind is like, boom, any mid to late first. Okay.
That's the reality.
Deshaun Watson, if he's back, we talked earlier, if he's a top 5 quarterback, like that costs you 3 firsts at least. Noah Fant, a second maybe. Like, could we still put a second on him?
I think convicted people will pay a second, but nobody else will.
Okay. So if I'm looking at 2 firsts and a second for something that's worth 3 firsts and another first.
And a 23 first, which still has that gold feel to it.
The math don't add up here, buddy. Like
here's what you have, Mike, right? My guess is Stinzy is rebuilding. You're not taking these 2 pieces if you're not rebuilding. Period.
But if I'm fucking rebuilding,
I get
why
it.
The fuck do I give up Watson and
a first? Right.
Why?
But, well, so here's what I'm guessing is, you get so enamored sometimes with, like, think about it this way, Mike. And I think this is something actually that's applicable to think about if you're listening to this trade show and it's not your trade here. All offseason, which was a long time, Mike. The offseason is a long time. We're talking like February to mid-August, right? Like, that whole time, everybody's mind is getting into this, like, hella value on Javonte and on Lance. And Mike, their value both really crumbled quickly in like a week. So for somebody that is thinking I'm buying low, they might not realize how much they gave away back, because for them, maybe Watson has been suppressed all offseason. So it's like the mindset's not adding up, in my opinion, is I think how this gets done. But I'm 100% with you as far as, like, this is a smash deal for Zach. And the fact that you got the 23 first included is insane to me. Like, I would have done this without the 23 first.
Like, just look at that 23 first and go like, that's probably the 110, the 111, the 112. It doesn't fucking matter, man. Like, it doesn't matter. I still want it. And if it's better than a late first, holy fucking Santa Claus shit.
Mike, the reality is we know this too. It's 4 weeks in. We have a sample size, but it's a small one. Even if this team looks good, like, I don't know what his depth looks like. We're looking at 2 guys that are injured for the year on the bottom here. There are going to be more of those. Like, his team is not guaranteed, I would imagine, to win the title. So there's also an opportunity for that pick value to increase seismically too.
Wild. Good job, Zach. I don't know how you do it, but good job. Melo.
This is our 10th and final deal, Mike. We got Melo and a best ball.
Brandon, right? We got Melo and Brandon in a best ball trade. So Melo gets Tannehill, Jared Everett, Terry McLaurin, and he sends away Dak Prescott. Ooh, man. In a lineup league, fuck no. How about that? In a lineup league, fuck no. In a best ball league, for Melo, I can get behind it. I can get behind it in a lineup league. Now, Terry McLaurin hasn't done much.
Right.
He's got some, like, ridiculous air yard stats, but he just hasn't put that into fantasy points. Thanks, Washington's offensive line. Tannehill, ho-hum, okay, some good, some bad. It's a best ball league. You don't have to fucking worry about it. And Gerald Everett has actually been a really nice surprise. Finally doing something with all that hyper athletic talent that we've been, like, just wait.
Chasing for every team and year that it doesn't happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott's still good at football. Dallas is still suspect sometimes on defense.
Yeah.
It is still a really good offense, right? Michael Gallup's coming back. Zeke's still healthy, still chugging along. Tony Pollard. Offensive line is a sketchy dumpster, but it's okay. It's okay.
Mike,
what do you think, man?
I'll give you my opinion. I think
going for it, and I think Brandon's kind of hitting the reset a little bit.
Exactly. Honestly, Mike, I think I can make the case for both sides winning, and that's why I like this deal to finish. Here's the thing, right? If you're rebuilding, Mike, Tannehill, Everett, McLaurin, Tannehill, you want off. Everett, you want off.
Yes.
McLaurin, you don't have to move, but truthfully, like
you'd like to. He's getting in that range.
You would want to do it as long as you can do it reasonably. You know. In best ball, I'll be honest. The only criticism that you could even give to Brandon, I'm not saying I'm not criticizing the deal. It's just you're consolidating from 3 to 1 on a rebuild, where I like to do the opposite typically. The one caveat though is like we're starting to see, Mike, right? Even in best ball, there is a lot of there's a ton of movement against the running back position, right? And the wide receiver position runs so damn deep. So like if I'm gonna consolidate, it's gonna be for somebody like Dak Prescott, who I think still has a lot of years left and projects in that top 10-ish quarterback range. Like you are losing some pieces, but you're getting a staple quarterback back for your team, and you can still, multiply assets in other ways. So, and then for Melo, you already hit on Tannehill's, probably on the dynasty value, not super great, but he's not sexy, but he's giving you points on the contender. Everett's a really nice buy on a contender, and McLaurin probably someone that's not going to keep having these down weeks every single week. So, I like it a lot for both sides. I really do.
What you brought up there, too, has been a shift. I mean, we were kind of already partly there. We had a hell of a best ball episode where we kind of dove into it. But I'd say specifically with kind of the shift in the running back spot and how fucking bad tight ends have been, just as a whole, outside of two dudes. The only position in best ball that I'm going to consolidate in anymore going forward is going to be into the elite range of quarterbacks. And like it or not, Dak Prescott's still in that range, right?
He's probably flirting towards the back end of it, but I think he's in it.
But yes, he's still one that I would consolidate to, albeit for a lesser price than some of the other guys. But that's the only position in best ball, man, I'm willing to consolidate to. So that's why I also like it from Brandon, right? If you're going to hit the little bit of a reset button there, why not for a fucking quarterback, right? Why not get those off? And for Melo, Dak Prescott wasn't doing them fuck all anyways. He is where he is without Dak Prescott. So let me get Ryan Tannehill. Maybe I get an extra win in week 5 if Dak doesn't play. I get Terry McLaurin and I get Gerald Everett and just kind of build my depth out for the rest of the season. So good move by both those guys. I like that.
I do. I like it a lot for both sides. Good deals, man. We did a 10-pack there, right? A little 10-pack of boneless trades. So we
boneless.
Like that, So man.
I like it.
We're gonna keep doing the trades, man, week in and week out. Let us know what you think about the trades, the different settings, formats, how we graded them, right or wrong. I like this, man. I like seeing the trades week in and week out, and I think by and large, patrons, people that are tapped in, Brandon, like there's a lot of good stuff happening here, man.
Hey, we appreciate everybody. I always love doing the trade show. The trade show is so fun. Get to break them down, see other people's deals, and then get to put my shitty ones out there. And I take all the heat for them. But like, comment, subscribe, and hell, man, let us know what you think of them. We ask every week, what do we think about this week's deals? And sometimes we get some good feedback, and sometimes we get some bad feedback. But I tell you this, any feedback we get is good feedback. Yeah. We appreciate it. We love interacting with you guys.
Let us know down below in the comments. Also, if you're seeing this, you've been watching, you want to get a trade, featured, patreon.com/South Harmon. Put it in the Shithead Trades channel. We will get you on the show. Come check us out over there if you'd like to. $1 a month gets you in the door. If not, hit the like, subscribe button, comment away, and we will see you back here next week for another episode of the 4D Chess Dynasty Trade Show.
That's going to do it for us. We're out of here. Peace.
Peace.